Hi there, everybody. We are celebrating a year anniversary with COVID-19 pandemic. Yay! Our horse shows last year were canceled, postponed, and under strict regulation. Join me, Laura Kelland-May, and our guest today, Kendall Fisher of Northern Colorado, as we celebrate the anniversary and what you can do about it. And we're going to take a look at how things have changed in the past year at horse shows. Hi there, Kendall. Thank you for joining us here today.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Kendall Fisher is from Northern Colorado. She owns 4 horses and including a mini. What's your mini's name?
My mini's name is Casper.
I have a picture of Casper here. I just want to show a picture of you and Casper. Just let me get it queued up here. There you are with your horse. And there's Casper.
Yes, that's the famous mini horse. He's pretty great.
Kendall recently traveled from Colorado, where she lives, to California to show at the Desert International Horse Park in Thermal, California, with her show jumper, George. Kendall and George often show at the Colorado Horse Park and other horse shows, including Thermal. And you were going to Wellington this weekend to visit. What happened?
Yes, I was going to visit a friend who's showing at WEF, and then the forecast in Colorado said there was going to be about 2 to 4 feet of snow, so I decided to stay home so we didn't get stuck there, and so I can take care of the horses and some other animals that we have here.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you're not going to Florida. You are in Colorado waiting for a snowstorm to hit.
Yes, it hasn't started yet. It's just gloomy and very rainy right now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And me, I'm Laura Kelland-May. Welcome to Equestrian Skill Builders. If you'd like to improve your riding and training, win more ribbons at your next horse show, or generally like other horsey related stuff, then you are in the right place, because we're going to be talking about some of those things today. I'm Laura, as I said, and I empower riders to go from no direction with the riding to feeling confident, feeling in control, and feeling in harmony with their horses so you can win more ribbons. Competition coach specialist, high performance trained, Equestrian Canada, senior judge and steward, hunter jumper, and as a live show producer, I can help you create a successful weekly live broadcast. Okay, so we're live. So, Kendall, tell us, what were you doing this time last year?
This time last year, I was actually in Thermal for the horse show, and things looked a lot different, not too much different. I was in Thermal a couple weeks ago again, so it was interesting to see the difference from a year ago to today and how COVID has changed everything.
So what was the big difference from last year to this year?
I'd say the biggest difference with the horse shows that I've been to, and especially Thermal, was last year you just drive in, you go to where you need to go, find your barn, and it's pretty easy. But this year you have to like pre-register, get a wristband that you wear throughout the whole time you're there. And then every time you drive into the park, you can't get in anyway unless they take your temperature first, give you a colored wristband, and then that's your temperature check wristband for the day. And I'd say that's the biggest difference. Besides that, obviously the masks, but everyone's fairly used to wearing masks at this point. But really just the temperature checks. And I would go at one time I went at 9 o'clock at night, and then also super early. They always had a person manning the booths, and everyone was super nice, but it was just interesting that you couldn't get in there without a temperature check, and it was everyone in the car. So I'd say that's the biggest difference that I noticed.
Yeah, so this time last year, we are March. So, we were traveling last year. This time last year, we were in New Zealand cycling. But I know that there was lots of speculation on whether or not we'd even have a show season where I live because of the pandemic. They started canceling horse shows, just saying, well, we can't even manage things because our show season starts in May here. So there was kind of a pandemonium. But once things started in the middle of the season, then it was kind of like what you said, and it like you said, you had to temperature checks, you had to fill out a form, you actually had to claim whether or not you even left the country or the district. Did you do your 14-day quarantining, all that type of thing. So this big lineups to get in the showgrounds, doing the temperature check with the immediate. Is that what they did to you guys too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I want to remind people, if you are watching live, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And if you have any comments or questions about what we're talking about, we'd like to hear what your experience is when you are going to a horse show. If you've been to a horse show already, let us know what you're experiencing, because I just want to know what's happening out there. So when you were competing, did things look different when you were in the showgrounds? You're doing jumpers with George. Now, first of all, what's George's show name? You don't call him George, do you?
His show name is actually George W.
George W.
Yes.
So you call him George W. That's his registered name or show name?
Yeah, that's the registered name that he got from Switzerland, which is kind of funny. And then when I'm showing, it really doesn't look too much different. There's not as much people watching, but I think that was kind of when I first started going to shows, which was at the Colorado Horse Park in Parker here. It was definitely, people followed the rules really strictly, where not as many people were watching. There's no chairs set up. And so that was a little bit different, especially when they had the bigger classes and the bigger Grand Prix. You're used to a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
And they didn't really allow that nearly as much. So I'd say that's the biggest thing while I'm riding. But what you were talking about, shows closing down, last year I was supposed to kind of go all over and show. I was supposed to go to Pin Oak right after Thermal in Texas, and I was supposed to show there, and then New Mexico and Kentucky, and I was supposed to go to all these places. And I didn't really think I was going to have a show season because everything started shutting down, but kind of mid-season they figured it out, and I was able to show quite a bit, which I was very thankful for, and that they could start getting the shows running.
Yeah, I think it must have been a big undertaking for some of the horse show organizers. If there's any horse show organizers out there, hi Stacy, thank you so much for putting a comment in. If there's any horse show organizers out there who'd like to share what a nightmare it was to try to get things going last year and now this year, things seem to be under control. I know in the hunter ring, you show them the jumpers, but in the hunter ring, in our area anyway, they stopped doing the flat classes. So no flat classes for the hunters, and no jogs for the hunters either. So they did soundness type of jog. When they finished their course, they would do a free trot, a circle to finish off, and that's where they did the soundness type checks. So that was the big change for me that I saw this past season. Whereas before, it would be the usual 2 or 3 over fences in the under saddle class. Well, the under saddle class are totally gone now. Excellent. So let me just see. What about the warm-up ring? What did that look like? Do they have a schedule for the warm-up ring?
No, I definitely not in Thermal. It was all fairly normal. Some people, it's never required to wear a mask while you're on the horse. Some people use them anyway, so some people would be riding with a mask, but the warm-up rings were never too much different.
Yeah. So I want to show a couple of pictures. I just want to get them queued up here. Before I do that, I want to show the pictures of you here. This one here. This is the one with you on the snow. Here we go. So this is you on one of your horses. This is not George.
Yeah, this is my horse Ava. She's about 21. She's just a grade quarter horse mare, and she's really just the bomb-proof dad's horse,
Oh,
and
that's
anyone can ride her. She's super easy kids horse. She's really fun to have around. I do lots of trail riding with her too.
so this is at your farm, I'm guessing. And when you say you get 2 feet of snow or 4 feet of snow predicted, this is the kind of thing that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'd say I remember that was probably about 2 feet of snow that I'm standing in right there. Weather predicting, we're supposed to get a little bit more than that. I think we're supposed to get maybe 5 or 6 inches more than that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You never really know here.
Or it might rain. So Lindy says the lack of flat classes is rough when you have young green horses. I totally agree with you, Lindy, about that. We try to get the young horses out to get used to going to horse show grounds, right? And if there's no flat classes, how are you supposed to get your young horses out? So, do you have what would you do, Kendall, if you had a young horse and there's not any flat classes for your young horse? What are some things that you think that you could do for that? Kind of putting you on the spot here, but
Well, I think having a young horse at a show, I've brought my young horse to just some schooling shows before, and having them around the property is probably one of the best things you can do for them. And just taking them around trail rides, just all around the property, making them see every single ring, making them go in different warm-up rings. Warm-up rings can be way more hectic than flat classes as well. And so I
mhm.
think just letting that young horse absorb it all in and knowing that they're in a calm place and they can take a deep breath, I think that'll help. Obviously, it's not the experience to get to go into the ring and actually put them in that flat class, but I think just, walking around the property and going in different warm-up rings can.
Totally true, but that's totally true. I agree with you. I was also thinking you could probably do, Lindy. Maybe you could do um maybe you could do some dressage, or I like the idea of doing the training shows or schooling shows. Those are always really good. And I'm not sure though if you are allowed to bring a horse that's not competing now with the restrictions. If you're not competing in a class, if you're not allowed to be on the property, so I'm not sure about that, but that's a great idea. I think that's the number one thing that you should do with your young horse is to take it to the grounds and just kind of walk around. I'm not sure if people allow that anymore or not with the COVID thing going on. So here's Stacy says, Ava's beautiful, hopefully coming to Colorado in July. Do you know Stacy?
I do
Kendall?
not know.
All right, Stacy. Thank you so much, Stacy. Where are you right now, Stacy? Put it in the comments of where you are right now. I'd like to know how far is Colorado from you. Are you going to be showing your horse in Colorado, Stacy? That's great. So Suswegat, she wants to know, how do I convince my parents for a new horse and make supportive to me? So you're a young person who's got four horses, Kendall. How do you convince your parents to get you a horse?
That's
Great
fun.
question. Thank you so much.
My parents have been super supportive from the start. I think I do some things to help with that, but they have always been really supportive, and I will never be able to really fully repay them. But I think just showing your hard work and dedication, like if I was kind of slacking off with horses and didn't really show how much I loved it, they would not be as supportive. And I do well in school. I just graduated. I'm a senior in high school. I graduated early, but I always would get my work done because if I had all A's, then I could just get it done and then I would have my horses after. And so I think just showing dedication all around, and showing how much you love the sport and how committed you are to it. You know, getting a horse is you have to be very committed to that. And I think showing your dedication and your true passion will help a lot with that.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great answer, Kendall. That is it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Very well spoken. And I would like to add on to that if you sometimes not really having your own horse is the answer, you could maybe go to your stable where you're riding and work at the stable and get to know the stable owner and help out around there. That's another way that you could show your parents that you are dedicated, just like Kendall said, but also to be around the horses more and just be a part of the stable and the atmosphere and really understand what it takes, because it's not just something you do 9 to 5, is it, Kendall? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to, it's a all day thing, and it's you have to be, like you say, dedicated. So Allison has a question here. She says, Kendall, do you have a sponsor?
No, I do not have a sponsor. I have an Instagram that I kind of work with companies through, and I have some of their tack that I like to tag in my posts, but I don't have an actual sponsor.
Okay, so what's your Instagram account?
My Instagram, I think it's Kendall Equestrian.
Well, that's a very important thing that we should make sure we get correct so that we can post it here. Does that look right? Kendall Equestrian?
It has, I should really know this. It's Kendall and then .equestrian. So Kendall period equestrian.
Kendall .equestrian. Okay, so go visit Kendall Equestrian. There. Does that look better?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll make sure that people go to Kendall Equestrian, follow Kendall. Do you answer questions there, Kendall?
Yes, I'll actually put a question thing on my story, and you can ask questions there or in any of the comments.
Excellent. So, and then me, you can do me as well. I think I'm, you know, what am I? Am I Al Kelland-May? Or am I Laura Kelland-May? There's me. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. That's a great question, Allison. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And getting the word out and growing your. So, what kind of tack people are you tagging and supporting in your Instagram?
I was working with a company. It's just a small company in California called Barnes Tack Room, and they have beautiful bridles, and I have it in that picture of in the snow, and it's great tack that I put on all my horses, and they've just really kind of shown some support to me, and I really like to kind of reciprocate that. And they've just been super great customer service. I really like supporting small businesses, and yeah.
Excellent. That's really good. Very, very good. So we do have another comment here from Stacy. She says she's in Idaho. I will be showing my new-ish hunter, Leo, be doing long stirrup to start. We are very new to the sport, started jumping 3 years ago. Excellent. Thank you so much, Stacy, for your comments. Really appreciate it. So long stirrups, that's the adult version of short stirrups for anybody who doesn't know. Thank you so much. All right, so let's continue on here. Just a second. Continue on. Excellent. Oh, I like doing that one. This is my favorite one, though.
That one's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. So the showgrounds, so the showgrounds, were they pretty empty when you went to the horse shows because of the pandemic?
I think when I went to Thermal, it was way busier than previous years, is at least what I heard from my trainers, and that it was quite packed. There were tons of horses there. I'd say the Colorado Horse Park was a little bit emptier than normal. They have plenty of extra tents and everything set up, but I'd say that was a little bit smaller, but thermal was actually bigger than previous years, which was really interesting. I think people are really itching to show now.
I think people are really itching to show after this being cooped up and not really being able to ride. So you have your horses at your own place,
Mhm.
because a lot of stables were closed during the pandemic. So were
Yeah.
you able to keep riding during the winter time?
So I actually had George, my show horse, at the barn that I was training with at the time because I was going to keep him there from thermal to when I went to Texas for Pin Oak, which was like a couple of weeks. And then it got a little frustrating because they did close the barn for like a week, I think. And then after that, they did like time slots so I could come like 4 to 5, and that was my time slot, and you'd have to go and wear a mask, and it was like 50 minutes away from me where I was keeping him, so it was a little hard to go there, only have an hour with my horse, drive back, about 2 hours of driving, 1 hour actually being able to ride and tack and groom up. But after we brought George home from there, since our show was canceled, it was super easy having him at home. And I board him during the winters. So right now he's at a barn like 5 minutes away from us. And that barn's pretty low key. So there's nothing different. And I'm still able to ride him there. But it is really nice to have them on our property, especially during the main part of the lockdown, because I was still able
Mm-hmm.
to ride.
Yeah, I think a lot of stables in the area just had to, like you say, they were required to, at least in our area, not have lessons. And once the things started lifting a little bit, they gave private lessons. And then, like you say, they had time slots, which is, I guess, a good opportunity. But you had a great opportunity because you do have your own place and you are able to ride your horse on your own property. Okay, so we do have something. Okay, Allison asks, thank you, Allison, very much for your comments. How did you start riding? Pony
Um,
Club, or how did you become a rider?
well, my aunt has horses in Kansas. She just has kind of ranch horses that they use for cattle, and I would visit her maybe once or twice a year. And when I went there, I would ride all day long. I knew nothing about it, but those horses, you throw someone on there and they do anything you tell them. And I would ride all day long where I'd have sores all over my butt. And then the next day I would get up and do the same thing. And then when I turned 13, neither of my parents are horsey people at all. They've never, I mean, they've been on a horse, but they've never really ridden. So I got the genes somehow. And for my 13th birthday, my mom was like, I got you 10 lessons for your birthday. And at the time, I did not understand that at all. I thought you had to like live on a farm to own a horse, you know?
Yep.
And I thought lessons were like the trail rides that you used to take when you're on vacation and you get to walk a horse up into the mountains. Um, so then I started these English lessons. We just found a barn, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And then soon we were leasing a little halflinger pony, and I was riding her, and then I was leasing it for 2 days a week instead of one, and it just all
Snowballed from there.
yeah. And then also I really started volunteering at, before even riding, I started volunteering at a therapeutic horse program through it's at CSU here. And
Okay, so for people who don't know, what's CSU?
yes, that's our college here. And
What
so
does CSU stand for?
it's Colorado State University.
Okay.
Yes, and so I started volunteering at there. They have a barn pretty close to us, and all summer I was there for at least 4 hours every single day. I think closer to like 6 hours single day. I got close to like 170 hours in just like in one summer, and without even getting on a horse, I was doing all of that. And I think that really showed my mom, like, okay, she knows how to tack up, she knows how to lead the horse, she knows all about these horses. I think it's time that she can actually ride and do a lesson. But I think that was really good for me to learn all of those things before I could even get on a horse, and I loved it. And I loved volunteering and just being around the horses and seeing how they help people. It really was quite a cool opportunity.
And that kind of goes back to the other question that we had with the person who says, how do I get my parents to support me to have a horse, right? And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, is to get out there and do some volunteering first so that
Mhm.
you can show and prove to people that you are really interested and that you are dedicated and you want to learn more about it.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, how has the pandemic changed the way you have been riding? I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit that you have your horses at home, but what other strategies have changed a little bit since the pandemic started?
I'd say probably the biggest thing is when school went online. It was kind of like a horse girl's dream in a sense, where I could do my school and then have all this time for my horses. And so I never really minded online school very much. And I knew I was going to graduate early before everything, and that really helps because I have way more riding time. But I'd say that's the how COVID changed how I ride. That's the biggest factor. Was school was a lot easier. I could just get it done really fast and then have all this time dedicated to my horses. I was actually going to horse shows and doing school in our camper because we would stay on site, and I would do school in our camper and horse show at the same time. And previously I would have never been able to go to these horse shows because I would have been in school. So the online school actually kind of helped my riding, which is quite funny.
Okay, so I've got something I want to show you and I want to know if this brings back any memories. Okay. So has this changed anything for you?
Yeah.
Big time for a plug here, right?
I
I'm
started.
sure your dad is watching, I guess, right?
Yes, I started working with Laura, and I think my training has really completely shifted, and I kind of understood what I
Well,
should.
I wasn't really getting at that. What I was getting at is the using videos
Yes,
to help
very
you.
true.
Let's just see if I can see something here where I've got to be marking up. Oh, there we go. So we're using this program called OnForm, and it you can mark up. So Kendall sends me videos, and I get to mark them up and help her out. So that was what I was getting at, is that you using video. I guess a lot of people seem to be doing that now, right? The videos, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And also, you mentioned that you were thinking of getting a pivo. Is that right? Is that what they're called?
Yes, I think it's like Pivo or Pivo or
Pivo.
something, but we actually got one,
Oh, cool.
and we used it yesterday,
Oh,
and it worked
awesome.
quite well. It doesn't work with more than one horse in the ring because it, like, catches onto one horse and follows that one, but it was looking quite well. I'll send you the videos later, and,
Yeah.
um
So I just want to say, Lindy, if you're still on, how I know that Lindy has a pivo. If you're still on, tell us what you're thinking of the pivo. So yeah. So if you're still on here, let us know what you're thinking, because I know that she's got one. And yeah, so how does that work? I mean, great
um,
opportunity for you to plug another. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let's get on to Pivo, and then we'll go back to OnForm, because we got to do a proper
yeah.
plug for that one, right?
So Pivo, I call it Pivo.
Pivo.
I'm not exactly sure what it's called. It's quite easy. It just connects to your phone on Bluetooth. You set your phone just in this little thing that's on a tripod, and it, like, connects to your horse and just follows you around the ring. And it has this little remote. I've only used it once, so I don't know it very well. It has this little
Okay.
remote I'm pretty sure like I could put it in my pocket. My dad was just controlling it the other day. But like I could put it in my pocket, start and stop it. And when I come back to my house where I'm really the only one riding, I think it'll work really well. I can get videos whenever I want without having anyone around. And so far it's quite easy to use, which has been, I think it'll be really convenient.
Excellent. So, so that's the way of getting your videos. And this is the program called On Form that I've been using with Kendall she sends me her videos. And this is just a sample that I did for her of what, oh yeah, there's lots of talking and oops. Sorry, Kendall, didn't mean to put you on the spot here, but that is what I've been doing with Kendall on that. Yeah. So we do have another comment. Let's see what this comment is. Okay, here's what Lindy says. Love the pivot. It helps me see how my rides went, and I'm able to troubleshoot some of the issues after each ride. Right. It does want to track the horses in the pasture outside of my ring, though. So she's having the same issue that you were having as well.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. So if there's any more questions, we'd love to hear from you. I want to tell everybody that this broadcast is sponsored by Equestrian Skill Builders. You can become a thinking rider. You'll progress faster, ride effectively, and be extraordinary. Get my free mini course called Ride in Harmony, and you can say goodbye to those bad rides and be understood by your horse. So you can find out how by going to this link right there. And you can get your free mini course. So if we have no other questions, do you have any final comments, Kendall, while we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think I've said everything, really.
I think you did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
Love
thank
it.
you for having me.
It was fun, huh?
Yes, very fun.
So I do have a couple more people lined up in the next couple of weeks. We are going to have a horse show manager on. She's going to tell us about upcoming show season and what she's organizing. Also, we're going to have an ex-racehorse jockey, and she's going to talk to us about her off-the-track thoroughbred rehabilitation program that I'm very kind of interested in. So, Kendall, final words from you.
Well, anyone in Colorado, please be warm with all of this snow and try and stay afloat with however much snow is to come.
Excellent. And from me, Laura, see you next week. Become a thinking rider, and you'll progress faster, ride effectively, and be extraordinary. Thank you, and we shall see you next week.